This video is a video I have been so excited to make, and it's finally time. The title probably says all you really need to know, and that is I have officially beaten cancer. And uh I got the news yesterday. I got the phone call and I freaked out so much that I was like in complete shock. So I wanted to make sure that I told all of my family and close friends first before I told you guys publicly, because otherwise it would be kind of awkward if they found out through a YouTube video. So, thus, I'm making it today. And I just want to say thank you so much for all of your love and support throughout everything. It has been a very challenging over the past 2 years. I've been fighting for a really, really long time, but I still can't believe it that we're actually here and that I'm I'm normal. That we did it. I did it, you know? And the first thing I really want to say is that I'm excited for kind of the next step in my life. As a lot of you may know from my channel already, is that I am engaged and that I really want to have babies and that I recently bought a house, which those things, when it comes to me fighting cancer and balancing my life, have been almost like undoable, right? I have an amazing fiance and we have delayed our wedding for a really long time due to my battle with cancer and due to a very long visa process. And I'm really excited for that to finally be happening. Also, I um I want to have kids, and since I took the longest process possible to fight my cancer, I'm able to have kids myself. It was something that was in complete jeopardy but throughout my entire battle because I have something that was called like uterine cancer or endometrial cancer, which basically means that I had malignant tumors within my uterus, and in my uterine lining and my muscle. The problem with that is that normally the treatment for it is to get a hysterectomy. If you don't know what that is, it's the removal of your uterus. So I was diagnosed in my mid 20s and I was like, oh my God, I'm so young and I really want to have kids. But one of the things that made me choose the longer option and a riskier option like this rather than just getting the hysterectomy was one of the reasons why in my darkest time I chose to push forward. And like the thing that pushed me to want to be here to this day was I really want to be a mom. I want to be a wife and I want to be a mom. Those are the two biggest drives in my life that caused me to just stay, which I've talked about openly about battling depression and anxiety and how like I work really hard on my mental health. I go to therapy, I take medication, but I didn't have anything during my darkest time that made me want to stay except for this one thing. And when that came into jeopardy, where they were like, you got to get a hysterectomy, I knew there was other resources I could have done. Like I went through all the like options of like either having a surrogate, of getting my like eggs frozen, of like there's like a bunch of different ones. And even outside of that, like adoption's also an option. We went through all those options, but at the same time, I knew myself personally that I would regret my life and I would have regrets or what if scenarios if I didn't try to fight it in this unconventional way. So I went through an intensive hormone treatment and therapy in order to shed cancer out of my body, which is extremely aggressive and very physically like painful because it basically changes my hormonal levels in my body. But it also means that I got to keep my uterus. So rather than fighting cancer for a shorter duration, I had to take it over the past over 2.5 years of treatment now, or like over just over 2 years more like of treatment. And my body is exhausted and I am tired, but I'm so excited for this next page in my life. And today is the first day I have officially been cancer free. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweet daily what I do each day since I've beaten cancer. So I'll be like, this is day one. And I went to the dentist today. I got my teeth cleaned. Shiny teeth and me, shiny teeth, shiny teeth. And I made lunch for Richard, my fiance, and slept in bed with my dog. That was my day today. There's nothing really else there, but it was wonderful. And actually, I'm going to bring my fiance in here, and you guys can hear from him a little bit. Richard! Richard! Hi, Bungus. Hi, Bungus. Okay. Um. Hi.
Hello.
You want to tell them? You want to tell them things? I don't know. Actually, what I really want to say is like, you want to tell them how you feel through the journey? I don't know. I don't think people ever hear about like your perspective or side.
Um. Yeah. I mean, it's been a long one for sure. Uh. I've always wanted to, like even though it's impossible, like find a way to kind of relieve all the stress and pain of going through all this myself. So to hear that, all of this is out of your system is like I'd say the best news I've ever had in my life. So yeah, I'm feeling great right now.
Oh, I love you.
Mm,
Mwah.
mm,
Oh, okay. Thank you for your input.
mm,
Okay. Yeah, I'm really grateful and really thankful for my partner who's been so patient and loving throughout this whole process. And I'm really thankful to my family, who I didn't live with my family for like basically a decade. Um, and when I was starting to get really sick, how it even if you don't know the timeline at all, I can kind of give you a little bit of a rundown. Was that it was October 2022, and I fainted in my apartment, which I lived alone in. And when I woke up from fainting on the ground, I like messaged my dad, and I was like, I need to be around people because I'm like I don't know what's going on. And he's like, yeah, like here, I'll get you a ticket, fly out right now. And I flew out to my parents, and when I landed, they took me straight to the hospital, and I got misdiagnosed again. I've been misdiagnosed every year since 2018, and that's when they believe my cancer started to develop. I am a very unlucky person in the healthcare system because a lot of the doctors thought I was too young to have this particular type of cancer, but I have it. And it's more commonly found in older women, but I, you know, there's outliers. There's people who get it when they're young, and here I am. So they normally catch it faster though. But the problem was is that again, misdiagnosed in unfortunate circumstances, and it happening again then was kind of shit. um, but yeah, what happened was in November was the day I almost died. I lost over half the blood volume in my body, and I needed to get two blood transfusions done. And I lost my vision. I could no longer walk or move. Uh, like all my limbs gave out because basically your blood just kind of goes to your main organs when you have that little blood. And yeah, I got pretty bad. Like I my brain's like very foggy since then, which has made me a lot more goofier and forgetful, but was very frustrating when it first happened. I was I was not okay when I first realized that I am not the same as I used to be. Um, but it's okay. It's fine. Um, I got my results back in January. Normally, the results would have come back a lot sooner than that. They usually take about 3 weeks for most biopsies. Um, I got my biopsy at the time of my about sorry, timeline's a little weird. So got the blood transfusions, and then I actually had a surgery um for about 3 to 4 days later because they wanted to put an IUD in, thinking that, like, oh, like I probably have endometriosis. I didn't. I had uterine cancer, which is a little bit different. Um, but it was also endometrial cancer, so it was the mix up would kind of make sense there. But when they put it in, they also wanted to biopsy like areas within it, and that's when they found out. But the problem prior to that was that in October, when I got biopsied, then the results came back, but I didn't know the results because no one ever told me them. They never did the follow up phone call for that one. And I only found out those results in December from my personal doctor. So I went to him being like, hey, I haven't got, like, for my family doctor. I went to him, I was like, hey, I haven't got my results back from the biopsy. He goes, oh, yeah, you got it from your pap test. It's right here. I was like, oh. I was like, I never saw the results for that one. I meant the biopsy I got recently in the hospital when I got surgery. And they were like, he was like, oh, no, I don't see that here. I just see the pap test one. And I was like, oh, can you read that for me? Because, yeah, it found abnormal cells. But they're like, okay, so you don't have cervical cancer, but you have abnormal cells and precancerous ones from just our swab, which means that there's a possibility that I have cancer in my uterus, which means they should have fucking called me and they should have brought me back to tell me, but they didn't. Right. And he's like, the abnormality is not certain of cancer. It's just abnormalities mean that they have to go in and check themselves with further investigation. Right. I was like, okay, that's no problem. I'm not going to freak out yet because as long as it's not cervical cancer, I'm chilling. Because cervical cancer is very, very lethal. The survival rate of it's pretty bad, which is why like the spread of uterine cancer can cause major issues, and it's terrifying. Anyways, so I kind of just chilled out for a while until January hit. So it was after like everyone got back from their vacations and nonsense, and then I got my results, and the results were I went in person for this one because the thing they do when they tell you you have cancer is you don't get it told over the phone. That's not what they do. They take you in person. So I went in person and got sat down, and they told me this really long-winded spiel about other nonsense, and I was like, "Can you just please tell me help?" And I kind of was stupid because I was so positive that I was fine that I went alone, which was dumb, but I did because I didn't want to freak anyone out. I was like, it's probably nothing, right? And then it was something, and um, that's when they told me that I have uterine cancer and that it's been developing for a long time, even though my grade isn't aggressive, but I have large masses and like one's really embedded into my muscles because it's been growing for years now. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah. They're like, it getting to this point is very like unusual because it would have been found out sooner usually. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. But they're like, but the bright side is that like, you know, like we have a really great like gynecology surgical team here. And they're like, so your case is being referred to them and they'll be like working you through everything. I was like, cool. Now, the thing about when you get diagnosed with cancer is that they don't just tell you, right? What they do is they give you a bunch of options when they tell you because they don't want you to feel hopeless. They don't want you to feel like I got this massive bomb dropped on me and now there's nothing I can do after. What I did during that time though, I was like, I'm not ready to hear everything right now. I was like, if you can give me like smaller rundowns, I'm okay. Because I was just kind of shocked that I was hearing this. And then I just made notes on my phone and uh yeah, they kind of gave me a few options there. And one of the options mainly being a hysterectomy, but the other ones being like everything was like, oh, your survival rate is pretty good now that we gave you blood, but we might have to keep topping you up with more blood units because our biggest risk is one, you hemorrhaging, and two, your bleeding is so excessive that you're losing too much to like function, which can lead to a lot of damage, right? And I left the hospital. I actually like when I was leaving the hospital, they're like, oh, you get a free cab. And as one of the jokes I made to my fiance later, I was like, yo, you know what? At least you get a free cab when they tell you you got cancer. You know, you get something out of it. And I walked outside and I called him, and I was like so anxious that I sounded happy, which is like something that I do a lot, is that a lot of what I feel, I kind of paint into the emotion of happy. It's hard to describe. I think you might see it often in my videos. I can be scared happy, sad happy. I'm just happy to like, it's how my coping mechanism is, which is very bizarre, but it's who I am. And I was like on the phone with him, like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna beat this shit, and we're gonna have babies. We're gonna have so many babies. And even if I can't have them, we're gonna find other options because there's other options out there. The doctor was telling me blah 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 blah. Right? And he was like, yep, you got this. Yep, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. I was like, damn right, it's gonna be okay because I'm great and I'm a fighter and blah 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 blah. Right? And I was just doing all that kind of stuff to like will it into existence. So rather than being a person who cried when they found out they had cancer, I was like aggressive, aggressively happy, which was like how I handled it mentally. But then instead of getting a cab, I actually called my mom because I was like, I want to be with family and I don't want to be alone in a car ride thinking about this alone in my own head. And my mom picked me up and she was like, so what happened? What's the news? And I'm like, oh, I should not tell her while she's driving. I was like, I can tell you when we get home. Don't worry about it. And we're driving and she goes, do you need to pick up any medication? I was like, oh, I actually do. Do you mind dropping by the pharmacy? So we're on our way there and she goes, and she starts crying. And I'm like, wait, what? What's wrong? And she goes, if it was good news, you would have just told me. And now I know it's bad. And I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah. I was like, well, wait till we pull in and I can tell you. And she goes, no, I need to know now. I was like, okay, then pull off to the side of the road and I will tell you. So she pulls up to the side of the road and I tell her. And, you know, she kind of breaks down a bit and I comfort her. And then we go pick up my meds. And then I buy her a Subway sandwich, a flatbread with lots of jalapenos. And we both comfort eat at home. And then I call my sister in the car while we're driving because she's like furiously texting my mom, like, what's the results for Alicia? What's the results for Alicia? So I call her and I tell her. Um, and my sister kind of freaks out and she starts crying. And then I text my other sister because I know she was in class at the moment. And I know it's better to do phone calls for it, but my sister, my middle sister, she's like, both my sisters are older than me. My middle sister doesn't handle, she wouldn't be able to handle the phone call of me telling her I have cancer. Everyone processes things very differently. And she's a very emotional person, but hearing me say it and being her baby sister would not be okay for her. So a text message was the right option for her processing. For my older sister, she would need to hear the phone call. So I called her and told her. And then I get home and my dad comes in and I tell him. And he goes into shock. He's very disoriented. And then kind of just leaves. And I'm like, okay, he needs to go process in his own way. Everyone processes in their own way, right? And at this point, I still haven't cried yet because I'm just like caring about everyone else at the moment. Like I'm trying to make sure everyone else is okay. And then I'm finally like alone a bit later and I'm sitting there and this is going to seem really weird. I decided to record more videos rather than processing my emotions. And I did not process my emotions for quite a while. It took me quite a bit. I finally had my full moment of breaking down when my family thought I was asleep and I heard my mom and sister holding each other and crying so hard they had a hard time breathing. And that was like the moment where it actually hit me. Because until then, I was just in shock. And like, I had this confidence towards beating it because I was like, I got this. I'm a bad bitch. I got this. That's kind of the mentality I had. And then them crying made me realize, oh shit, maybe I don't have this. Because yeah, there is a very large risk factor early on in the battle, And the bleeding was like such a huge issue that, yeah, it could cause me to have one, blood clotting in my legs, but two, very high risk for strokes or heart attacks. Um, and yep, that's when it sunk in. The medical journey after that was just a lot and a lot of procedures. And I could go into detail about all of that and all the nonsense, but I don't really feel like it. I'm too happy being done with it all. I'm too happy being through it and I'm done. So, yeah. I still will be biopsied again in 6 months from now, and my check will be another 6 months from now. Everything I do now, oh, sorry, 3 months from now. We're doing 3 months. We're doing 3 months for the next, like, year, I think. And then we're doing 6 months after the first year because technically I'm in remission, but I beat cancer. So I'm free of cancer. But yeah, they got to check in still pretty often just in case. And I did have precancerous cells in a different area, but those are gone too, which is like, holy shit. So I'm like actually good. I'm actually fine. And it's insane. I'm so excited to just see what I'm going to do with my life now and to like be a person again. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of this journey from when I used to record in hospital beds to when I used to record laying down with my microphone on my chest because I had to use a laptop and couldn't sit up to actually record videos. And all the way to now where I got a fancy new model and people still think it's 2D when it's actually 3D, which is crazy. Yeah. And now we're here pushing 300K on Alicia X's death and almost 200K on Alicia X's life, which is pretty sick. And I could do all that from a microphone on my tits in a laptop to now upgrading. and I did it all in spite of being in the worst health condition of my life. And I'm really excited to see what I do now that I'm okay. I will still be on one of my cancer medications for the very intensive hormone therapy. Reason being is that they just don't want it to reoccur, right? It's just more of a safety measure. And then the moment that I try to start having babies, I can go off the medication. So I'll still have like the aches and pains in a more general sense or body pain from that medication because it's so intensive. But at least I won't have like the direct pain from the cancer itself, like with the pressure and stuff. That's about the major update. I'm okay. And I'm better than okay. I beat that shit. And yeah, I think this should be about the video. And I'm like shaking. Thank you so much for being here and for being supportive. If you're new to the channel, thank you. And I'm excited for you to see me at my fullest potential. For those of you guys who watched me since, early on in my battle, thanks for always being so patient with me. And I'm really excited for our next steps. My next 2 weeks are probably going to be filled a lot with family and friends because again, I just beat cancer. So IRL is going to be kind of crazy. So if I upload a little bit less, sorry. Doing my best to upload a lot every day though. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I beat cancer. All right. Bye.